It began on an October evening in 1983 in the small coastal town of Mariners Bluff, Maine, where the sea mist clung to the streets like a living thing. The fog rolled in heavy that night, muffling sounds, swallowing the edges of buildings, turning the familiar into something strange. Anna Whitlock, 31 years old, was last seen walking home from her shift at Harbor Light Diner, her silhouette swallowed by the gray veil that had descended over the town. Her disappearance would come to haunt Mariners Bluff for decades, a case whispered about in diners, on fishing boats, and in the dim corners of bars where locals nursed their drinks and tried not to meet each other's eyes. Anna was not a stranger to anyone. She had grown up in Mariners Bluff, the youngest daughter of a fisherman and a schoolteacher. She had left briefly for college, but returned after her father's sudden death at sea. Those who knew her spoke of her warmth, her quiet intelligence, and her tendency to linger in conversation, as though afraid of being forgotten. But the night she vanished, she moved with unusual urgency, her coworkers said, as though she was trying to get somewhere quickly or away from something. The Harbor Light Diner was nearly empty that night. The thick fog had kept tourists away, and locals knew better than to be out after dark when the air grew this heavy. The few patrons remembered Anna serving coffee, clearing tables, and glancing toward the window far more often than usual. At 10:17 p.m., she clocked out, slung her coat over her arm, and stepped outside into the suffocating fog. It should have been a 10-minute walk to her apartment on Dock Street. She never made it home. The next morning, her landlady knocked on Anna's door to remind her about a rent check. The door was locked from the outside, the apartment undisturbed. Her purse, keys, and coat were gone. The bed was neatly made. When Anna failed to show up for her shift that afternoon, her boss called the police. Officer Daniel Huxley took the report, assuming at first it might be a misunderstanding. But when a search of the town and surrounding woods turned up nothing, the unease began to grow. Mariners Bluff was not the kind of place where people simply disappeared. Its population barely scraped 2,000, and everyone knew each other's business. But the fog that night had been a shroud, swallowing sound and sight, and in that blindness, something had happened to Anna. Witnesses were few. A fisherman named Carl Weber reported seeing a woman matching Anna's description at the edge of the pier around 10:30 p.m., standing unnaturally still, staring into the water. When he called out, she didn't respond. He assumed it wasn't her until the news broke. The search that followed was exhaustive. Volunteers combed the shoreline, police dragged the harbor, and dogs were brought in from a neighboring county. No trace of Anna was found. What they did find was stranger, a single shoe on the pier, damp with seawater, but without signs of having been in the water for long. It was Anna's size, but her family couldn't confirm it was hers. Rumors began to spread. Some whispered she had run away, though no one could say why. Others believed she had been taken, that the fog had given someone the cover they needed. But a few locals, older ones, spoke of something else entirely: the fog man, a half-forgotten legend of a figure who appeared in the mist and lured people away, never to be seen again. Most laughed at the idea, but in a town that relied on the sea and feared its moods, the story found fertile ground. Over the years, the investigation took on strange turns. In 1987, a hiker in a forest 20 miles inland found a woman's scarf tangled in a branch, its fabric weathered but intact. Anna's mother swore it belonged to her daughter, though police couldn't confirm it. In 1991, an anonymous letter was delivered to the Mariners Bluff Gazette, claiming to know where Anna's body was buried. The location, given an abandoned boathouse on the North Shore, was searched, but nothing was found. The letter's author was never identified. What made the case all the more unsettling was the number of other strange disappearances in the area. In 1962, a young couple vanished from their parked car during a heavy fog. In 1974, a dockworker went missing on his way home in near-identical weather. None were ever solved. By the 2000s, the case had grown cold, the box of files gathering dust in the police archives. Officer Huxley, now retired, still kept a copy of Anna's photo on his desk. "I see her in my dreams," he told a local journalist in 2009. "Sometimes she's standing in the fog looking at me. Sometimes she turns and walks away." Then, in 2015, a young tourist named Rachel Morrow was photographing the harbor in early morning fog when she captured something unusual, a blurred figure in the distance, standing exactly where Anna had last been seen. Rachel swore no one had been there when she took the shot. The image reignited interest in the case, with amateur sleuths poring over old maps, weather reports, and police records. Yet no answer came. Theories multiplied: a local with a grudge, a drifter passing through, an accident covered up by someone powerful. Some pointed to the tides that night, suggesting Anna might have fallen in and been swept away, though this didn't explain the shoe, the sightings, or the years of silence. Today, more than 40 years later, the disappearance of Anna Whitlock remains one of Maine's most enduring mysteries. The pier where she was last seen still stands, weathered and creaking, the fog rolling in as it always has. Some nights, locals say, if you stand there long enough, you might see a figure in the mist, a woman with her hair pulled back, staring into the dark water as though waiting for something. Whether it's a trick of the mind, the weight of the story, or something else entirely, no one can say. But in Mariner's Bluff, people still lock their doors when the fog comes in, and somewhere, beneath the whispers and the salt, heavy air, the unanswered question lingers: what happened to Anna Whitlock?